Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now I'm sure I said this when I looked at a lying question in my League of Nations series. I think lying needs a high benchmark for proof. To accuse someone, even a politician, of lying is a big deal, I feel. So where would evidence come from? Our knowledge of a person, and two, our knowledge of whatever it is they're talking about. The purpose for them saying what they did, and perhaps their audience, and whether there are reasons for mistrusting either source. These are two-source questions. And always with these kind of questions, you have to look at the source being scrutinized first, in order to see what it's saying, what points it's making. So in our question, does source F prove that Lord George was lying in source E? We have to look at what Lord George is saying in source E first. And you will need to be watching this on your computer if you're to be able to read the sources. And you'll probably be hitting the pause button too. Well, Lord George is admitting the Treaty of Versailles is a harsh treaty, but he is justifying it by saying that Germany's crimes, planning and provoking a devastating war, justify a harsh punishment, and that Germany must pay for the damage it has caused, and that a harsh punishment will also deter Germany or any other country of doing something similar in the future. And you should make use, direct use, of the source to back up what you are saying. Now, in some ways, this might seem a tricky question, because you might well think, where is the lie? It was a harsh treaty, and most people in Britain thought Germany was guilty and wanted Germany punished. Well, don't forget, there's the too harsh, not harsh enough debate. So was Lord George trying to kid the nation that the treaty was harsher than it was? You know, he was in the middle of Clemenceau and Wilson, leaning more towards Wilson, in not wanting a treaty that would leave Germany wanting revenge. And in speaking in the House of Commons, he is speaking to the British people. He knows his words will be reported. And so in this scenario, the businessman's letter can be seen as trying to call out his lie. The treaty wasn't as harsh as he's making it out to be. On the other hand, you could turn the question on its head and call the businessman out as a liar. Your knowledge would tell you that Germans suffered during the war as a result of the blockade, and that they struggled with inflation and unemployment, never mind reparations, after the war. Germany was struggling to recover from the war. Sometimes it pays to be brave in that exam hall. We call it challenging the assumption of the question. The question assumes Lord George is lying. Well, businessmen have their own selfish interests too. Was this particular businessman seeking to gain an advantage? And not for the first time, I'm pointing out that it's okay to project the possibility of factors that aren't made explicit in the sources. You are sitting in an exam hall, and you are not expected to know everything about the sources. They are supposedly unseen by you before the exam. And you're not told everything. And actually, there was an election in 1922, the year the businessman wrote his letter to a newspaper, though in all honesty, I would not expect you to know that, and I don't think you needed to in order to earn excellent marks. So let me end by sharing parts of the examiner's report with you. Many answers concentrated on considering the provenance of the sources as the route to explaining whether Lord George was lying, the report says. Well, as I've said, both could have had reasons for lying, and the businessman seems anti-German, even suggesting they lack a sense of humour. And it also says, the report that is, evaluation using more secure contextual knowledge of Lloyd George's private and public views on how to treat Germany in 1919 and the state of Germany's economy 1919 through to 1922 was demonstrated in higher level responses. Well, we've covered that. This is a source paper, and so the sources must dominate your answers. But you are a historian, and this paper is testing that. You need to constantly bring what you know to these sources. The source paper is good for you. It should earn you very good marks. But you have to think, and sometimes you have to be a little brave. But that's a lot easier if you know your history and you practice answering past source questions. Now, I'm saying this throughout this series on past treaty source questions. I have 18 past papers on the Treaty of Versailles and the Paris Peace Conference as a whole, plus their mark schemes, plus the examiner's reports. The more you practice past source questions, the better you will be in that exam hall. And it's the kind of thing we can work on in tutorials. If you've been listening to my videos, you know the drill. Get your parents to contact me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you for listening and wish you the very best of luck in your studies. Cheers.